A big welcome to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta, and you can call me D-Boy. I'm here for you guys with a deck profile, and this will be on Dark Irregulars. As you can see, we have different decks that we could build a deck from. We have Shared Vampire, of course, which I hope in the next set we will get another grade 3 that could work pretty well with him. On the other hand, Amon, it's been a while since Amon got any resources, any support, so I hope Amon will get something, at least a grade 1 or a grade 2 that, or a new stride that could work with him. Today's deck profile will be on the Blade Wings, because Blade Wings got the most supports in the last set, and I do think that this is a pretty strong deck. There is some reasons why this deck haven't been doing really well in this format, but I will talk about that at the end of this video. Before I do this, if you haven't seen our previous deck profile on Blade Wings, you could go and check that out if you're not that experienced with Dark Irregulars, because I will not be explaining all of the skills in this video, only the skills of the new cards, the cards from GB7, and also I'll be talking more about how this deck is doing and why it haven't been topping or doing anything as a format. So yeah, let's start with the grade 3 lineup. As you can see, I play 2 of the old Reiji, 3 of the new one, and 4 of the Sullivan or Solvian, whatever you want to call him. This is your main grade 3. You always want to go and ride into him, because he is your defense and he will set the drop zone for you to be able to put those cards back into the deck and be able to do your plays and get your triggers. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, it's all because of his first skill. So his skill is if you have 15 or more cards in your soul, then he get 2 skills. The first one is that any guardian that you put in the guardian circle get an extra 10k. So your heal trigger, which guards for 10k, would be 20k. If you go G guardian, which is 25, it would be 35, or if it's 20, it would be 30. So it's a very good skill. But at the end of the battle that this guy is attacked, even if you didn't guard that attack, if you are at 15 cards in your soul, then he get this skill, which is you have to Soul Blast too. So let's say you are at 17 cards, you can get the skill the first time, you'll be at 15, and the second time would be at 13, then you don't really use the skill anymore because you're not at 15 cards in the soul. That's a good thing that you have to Soul Blast too. The reason why that's a good thing is that with the Blade Wing Stride, you do put all the cards from your drop zone back into your deck. And Soul Blasting too means that you could Soul Blast all the triggers, the perfect guards, your key units that you want to see again, your Stride Fathers, maybe some grade 3s that you want to stride with. So it really depends on your hand and your drop zone. Those are the cards that you can Soul Blast with his skill. Mostly, you do want to Soul Blast all triggers and maybe perfect guards to just survive your game and be able to just get pretty good drive checks. And then we have the old Reiji, which all of us know is his skill. As I said, if you don't know the skills, you could just go and watch our previous deck profile on Blade Wings. And then we have the new Blade Wing Reiji, which has 2 skills. Let's start off with the second one, which is you count +1, and when your Vanguard, which is a grade 3 Blade Wing Reiji, so it doesn't work with the Stride, only work with the grade 3 Blade Wing. So if a grade 3 Blade Wing doesn't hit the turn or the battle that you attack, you can use his skill by counterblasting 1, discarding 3 cards, and then you could ride him from your soul as stand. So it's pretty good, okay skill. It doesn't really work the same as next stage that you could just stride then ride, because it has to be a grade 3. But still, it's a pretty good finisher if you can't stride, or if you want to go into him because of his first skill, which is you can Soul Blast 15 cards, and then if you have a Blade Wing Reiji in your soul, not himself, this Blade Wing Reiji, so the old one, if you have that in your soul, you could Soul Blast 15 as I said, and then he gets extra 2 criticals, and an extra 15k. So he would be the same as a stride while attacking 26 by himself. And with double critical, it could just finish your opponent off. So if you know that your opponent can't guard against him and would definitely take the attack, then you could just use it and just attack your opponent and kill him. The only downside to his skill is that when you ride him from your soul, you do have to discard 3 cards, which means that you are minusing yourself 1 because your first drive check is 2 and then you have to discard 3. But yeah, you do get an extra attack, and this first skill is pretty amazing. Getting 2 extra criticals means that you could do 3 damage by himself, which is pretty good. So that's the grade 3 lineup. I do play 9 grade 3s because you do want to soul charge some of your grade 3s, and I'm only doing random soul charging in this deck, so I can't really get the grade 3s into my soul any other way. Also, I do play only 3 Stride Fathers, which you will see when we go into the grade 1 lineup, and that's why I play 9 grade 3s. For the grade 2 lineup, start up with 4 copies of Flying Librarian. The reason why you play 4 of this card is because the card that refreshes your soul gives you an extra card, and also while you're intercepting with her, she would still be a 15k interceptor using your main grade 3. So it's a pretty okay card for me to use. I do like to play her at 4 because of the more consistency that this card brings to the deck. And then while doing so, I only play 3 copies of the new Bladewing grade 2. Its skill is the same as Dimensional Creeper, so when you Soul Blast her from your soul, you can Soul Charge 2 more. You do need a Bladewing Vanguard to use her skill. Also, when she's called into the rear guard, if you have a Bladewing Vanguard, you could Soul Charge 1. So she's really okay. I only play 3 copies of her because she's just the extra soul charge that you can use sometimes. You could take her out to put Gwyn the Reaper in here or anything else that you want to try. So the cards that I would put in here are Emblem Master and Gwyn the Reaper. Gwyn the Reaper skill is the same as Blast Blade. You can't blast 2. If you ride him or call him as a rare card, you could retire a grade 2 or less. Emblem Master does put pressure on your opponent, especially early game when you ride him or call him as a rear guard. So when he attacks and the attack hits, you count +1, and then you could soul charge 3. The reason why you played these 2 because you're not using your counter blasts a lot. You only need 1 face up for your Flying Librarian, and maybe you need 1 for your Bladewing Ragey, but otherwise you're not really using your counter blasts. So and your starter uses 1, but still. So yeah, I've chose for 3 of these cards to just get the extra soul charge and sometimes to get darkness. So that's why I use her. And next and last grade 2 that you use in this deck is Double Vampire. So this is a new card from GB7. He has 1 skill, but it's pretty okay. It doesn't really work with the deck as it should work. The reason for that is that you're using your Gilderay, still using your Gilderay to finish your opponent off, and the problem in doing so is this card's skill is the same as Silent Tom, so your opponent needs a Perfect Guard to stop this card, but while you're using Gilderay, your opponent can't use their Perfect Guard to guard the Gilderay, so they will be using the Perfect Guard to stop this card and the triggers to stop Gilderay, which is a bit of a shame. I would rather that this card would be the same as Gilderay because then they can't guard against it while using all their heal triggers, their grade zeros to stop Gilderay. But on the other hand, this card does work really good with the deck because your opponent would just get rid of the Perfect Guard to stop him, and while you go into late game, your opponent would need the Perfect Guard to stop Ragey or to stop the attacks that you do with your strides while getting so much triggers. So It depends on the way that you play the deck. You could make this card very strong, but also when you put him in there with your Gilderay turn, it doesn't really work the way that you want it to work. So yeah, be smart about how to play this card. So its skill is you do need to get Darkness. Darkness is that when you soul charge this turn, doesn't really matter when, at least should be before this guy attacks. So when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have 6 or more cards in your soul, he get an extra 5k, and then if you have 15 or more, he gets a silent Tom skill, so your opponent can't guard with the Great Zeros. Boosted by a 7k, this card will attack for 20k by 20k column with a silent Tom skill is pretty strong. Does mean that your opponent would have to get at least a heal trigger to stop him, or a perfect guard. So still pretty good skill. Putting all the trigger on him, so critical, any 5k that you get, you just put on him, and then you put more pressure on your opponent while attacking. So playing, as you can see, 11 grade 2s. I don't really like playing 10 grade 2s because some of them you don't really want to ride, and others you don't want to get G assist on the grade 2. For the grade 1 lineup, start up with a perfect guard, 4 copies of course. Playing the old perfect guard, there is really no reason why you should play the G perfect guard. As I said, you don't really counterblast a lot in this deck, so why would you choose the G perfect? You could play the Quinton 12, the Bladewing one. It's pretty cool skill. You come +1 and then you Quinton 12, so 5 cards from the top of your deck. All of the 5 get an extra 10k if you have your main grade 3, so it does really work pretty cool with the grade 3. Also, if you have some grade 3 Bladewings with your guarding, then all of those goes into your soul at the end of the battle. So she does really help with getting the rages into your soul. But I don't really use her because sometimes when you're at late game, you still have so little cards in your deck that you can't really use her. And also because getting Imperfect Guard is pretty better in my opinion. This deck doesn't really have problem with hand because you could play the deck without putting rare guards in there. Maybe calling the Flying Larperian to just fool your soul, but mostly you could just finish your opponent off with Gilderay, and if they want to go into late game, so the Perfect Guard would be a better choice than her, the Quinton 12. But it's okay to put at least 1 copy of her in this deck. It's really cool to try this card out. Next great one is the Dimensional Creeper. Playing 4 copies of him, of course, because this is the card that you want to target with your second skills of your Bladewings, to just put as much copies of him into your soul as you can and just soul blast them to fill up your soul again, fill up your drop zone, and put those cards back into your deck. Also, you could leave 1 in there for the Darkness ability when you need to activate it. So if you want to get Darkness but you can't use anything else to soul charge, then he would also help you out. Next, I play 3 copies of the Stridefather, as I said. You could play 4 if you want to, and definitely play the SP if you have him or her, because the SP is really nice, the art on that card. But yeah, this card is really good, just because you want to stride as much as you can. You can't really search up the Charlotte Vampire because you don't play him. And next I play 2 copies of Doreen the Thruster. This is just a tag card in here. I could definitely take this card out to put anything else, but she does help out with your Gilderay turn and almost every turn that you soul charge. So she get an extra 3k for every soul charge that you get, only in the main phase. So his skill doesn't really work because he soul charges 5, but that's not on the main phase, so it doesn't really work with her. But any other skill that you do in the main phase does really work with her. It's pretty okay to put a critical on the column that this card is boosting or even attacking, because that would be a very strong column. You have another option to play, or another great one that you could play, which is this great one, or one of these. All of them are pretty cool. I do like the Visionary Gemini a lot. I did play him before we got the new support, so you would see him in the previous deck profile, which he could get an extra 5k if you have 6 cards in your soul as a guardian, and then get an extra 10k if you have 10 or more. So he would be guarding for 15 by himself, while using your grade 3 skill, he'll be 25k guardian, which is pretty amazing. Bloody Cough has also a pretty cool skill if you're not using your Counterblast, which is you Counterblast 2 when this card is called into Rearguard, or when you ride her as your Vanguard. You can target one grade 1 or less card from your opponent's field and destroy it. So she does help up with their tiring, the same as Gwen the Reaper. Sometimes you just want to get rid of their starter or their key units, and she and Gwen the Reaper does help out a lot doing so, but I don't really like to play her because of the consistency. I mean, you could play 2 copies of her, but still I don't really want to use her. And then you have the new Bladewing Grade 1, which does has a pretty okay skill in my opinion, but I also don't like her for consistency. What she does is you put her into your soul from your field, and then you could look at the top 3 cards of your deck. There are at least 2 cards with Bladewing in the card name. You could put one in your soul and one in your hand, and the rest goes into the drop zone. The reason why I don't play her is because I don't really play that much Bladewings, so mostly her skill wouldn't go off, or you could just get something into your soul or into your hand, but I don't really like her a lot. I like the Great Wall lineup pretty much in this deck, because every card just go into place, even the Dorain, which is way better in an Amon deck build, still pretty good in here. I do like the new art, but also love the old art, so that's why I played the 2 of them. I'm really happy that Bushiroad are reprinting some of the old cards that are too expensive, especially for new players. I mean, I have a lot of friends that want to try out the game, and it's hard for them to play decks like Gear Chronicle and Link Jokers, because they don't really want to pay so much for just one card like Next Stage or Messiah. So for the Grade 0 lineup, all the triggers, play 4 heal triggers. Doesn't really matter which one you play. You could play anyone. I love the art on the Alice, and I like him a lot. So yeah, that's why I play these 4. Next, I play 3 draw triggers. The reason why you play 3 is that you could just put them in the drop zone if you want to, and then you could recycle them back into your deck. But if you don't, you could just leave them in your soul, and not being able to draw is pretty okay, but you do need some kind of draw power in this deck, so that's why you use these 3. Also, this card does help out with the darkness, because you could put her into your soul and soul charge 1 more, but does give you the darkness that you need. Even with the new Charlotte Vampire Stride, it does really help out. Then play 3 copies or 4 copies of the Nightmare Lands crit. So Dark Knight of Nightmare Lands is pretty okay crit. It's the same, you could put him to your soul and then give another unit extra 3k. The unit that you usually give the extra 3k is your Flying Harperion. So giving her an extra 3k means that she could still hit the Vanguard, because she's only 8k, so it would be 11k. And then playing 5 more normal crits. The reason why you play so much criticals and not play the stand trigger, which is a pretty good trigger. So the stand trigger, what does is that you could put the stand trigger back onto your deck, and then you could soul charge one more, and if you have 10 or more cards in your soul, you could unflip something, and if you have 6 cards or more, you could unflip something, and if you have 10 or more, you could draw a card. So it's pretty good skill, but as I said, you don't really counterblast a lot in this deck, and you do want to have so many criticals to just finish your opponent off with your Gilderay turn, especially if they are at 3 damage. You could at least get a critical trigger to just kill them. You could also take the draw triggers out to put the stands or put more criticals. For your starter, I still use the Ordonez. Ordonez skill is pretty good. If you don't want to use him, you could use Greedy Hand. He's also a very good skill, and he's not GB1. I've seen so many people play him. What he does is you can't plus 1, put him into your soul, and search your deck for a grade 2 or less card and put it into your soul. So he does give you an extra soul charge. Also, targeting the grade 2 Blade Wing or the Dimension Creeper, you could just fill up your soul more. But I like him more because he does give you an extra card and does give you the same amount of soul charging as Greedy Hand. For the strides, I do play pretty different stride lineup, and the reason why I do so is because I have tested this deck out, and you do really need 4 copies of him. I've seen people play 3, but if you do so, you can't really go into late game when you want to. So that's why I play 4 copies of him. What he does is he does get the drop zone back into your deck, you shuffle your deck, and if you have 15 or more cards in your soul, then you give the front row units extra 10k. If you don't, then you can soul charge 5, which does help out a lot with soul charging. 4 copies of Gilderay. I'm trying to get the SP on this card because it does look amazing. But yeah, Gilderay is Gilderay. You should know what this card does. He's just your finisher. Could just kill your opponent off that turn that you use him. They could maybe survive 1 turn Gilderay, but would never be able to survive 2 Gilderays. It's the same as next stage. You could probably survive 1 turn of next stage, but it's pretty hard to survive 2 turns. And then for the first stride, you could go into Kiss Kill, or Left Tempest Kiss Kill Lyra, or you could go into your Bladewing Stride. It depends on your hands and on your opponent's damage and hand. Sometimes you go into her to just put more pressure on your opponent and get rid of the Perfect Guard, so your next turn you could go into your Double Vampire and then crit your opponent. So yeah, she's pretty okay, in my opinion. Could play at least 1 copy of her. I do play 1 copy of Sabreeze. The reason why you do so is because you don't use the Counterblast a lot in this deck, and because most of your grade 2s are GB1 active. You do need to get your starter skill. So yeah, Sabreeze is pretty okay in this deck, and it doesn't go and hunt you back because you use the 2 Counterblast, because you don't really use them a lot. Then for the G Guardians, I play 3 copy of the double rare from the Fighter collection. This card is really good, especially where you are at, let's say you are 13 cards in your soul. You do use her, you soul charge 2 more, you would be at 15, which gives her an extra 10k, so she would be a 30k guard. Also, all your other guardians would get the extra 10k. So yeah, it does really work good with him. So I love the skill that this card has. And then you'd play 2 copies of Saint German. So he has 2 skills also from GB7. The first skill is if you have 6 or more cards in your soul, he get an extra 10k, so you'll be 25. And then if you have 15 or more cards in your soul, this card could give resist to all the rear guards, your Vanguard and your G Guardians. So playing him against decks like Dimension Police or Dimension Robos that could kill your G Guardians or kill your Guardians is pretty good. So yeah, it's the same as Desmil, but Desmil only gives the skill into the rear guard, and he gives it to all your Vanguards, your rear guards, and your Guardians. The good thing about Desmil is he does gives the skill that that unit cannot be hit until the end of this turn. So while they attack your rear guards and you want to keep the rear guard, you can use him to stop that attack. That's why I play at least one copy of him. Other choices that you could play as strides is you have Soulless Demon. He's pretty good. It's the same with Doreen. He does give your front row units extra 1k for each soul charge that you do. So pretty good, especially on the turn that you go into soul blasting your dimension creepers and getting extra soul charge. I don't really use him because when you want to make your rear guards that strong, you do have to sacrifice the turn that you stride, because going into him, he doesn't do anything by himself. He only gives the extra power, and getting the extra 5k or 10k, you could use your Bladewing Stride, or you could use the triple rare from the Fighter Collection. This card has pretty interesting skill. You could put a card from your hand into your soul, and then he get a mount skill, so he get 1k for each card in your soul. If you have 10 or more, he get an extra 10k, which means that he also gets an extra skill, which is you give your front row units extra 5k. The good thing about him is that the card that you put from your hand into your soul could be the Bladewing card, or Bladewing Ragey, any Bladewing grade 3 that you want to have in your soul. So that's why he's really good. But on the other hand, you are losing card from your hand, so that's why I don't use him. I don't really like to minus myself in any way, so that's why I don't really see a reason why you should use him. Also, you get the extra rare from the GB7. This card has pretty good skill, but it does have potential, but maybe in the Charlotte Vampire deck, not in this deck. What he does is when he attacks, you need to have Darkness to use his skill. And then you can Soul Charge 2 when he attacks. And if the cards in your soul are 6 or more, he gets the skill, which is when he hits, your opponent would have to destroy or retire one of their units. But as I said, it does work really good with Charlotte Vampire, because when the attack goes through, then they would have to retire 2 cards. But in this deck, the extra 1 retire doesn't really work, because your opponent would choose which card they want to retire, so I don't really like him. Also, if you have 15 cards or more in your soul, he gets an extra 1k for each, so you could just bump up this card. It would be a very strong card in a Charlotte Vampire deck, but not in this deck. So yeah, this was the deck profile on Bladewings. Don't forget to watch the previous deck profile if you don't really have any, if you want to know more about this deck, or if you want to know all the skills. But if you are very experienced with Dark Irregular, then there is really no need to. Tell me what you want to see next. Do you want to see Amon, or do you want me to wait until GB8 and make a deck profile on the Charlotte Vampire deck? I'm very happy with the Charlotte Vampire Stride. It has pretty good skill. If you didn't see that yet, he has the skill when you have Darkness. You could put all your rare guys into your soul, so it does really work good against May Colony and any other deck that could get your rare guards or kill your rare guards. So you could just attack with them and then put them into your soul, and then he retires all of your opponent's rare guards, and your opponent can't Perfect Guard or Quinton to all the attack. It's pretty good skill. Does really work good in this deck because you have your Guild Ray, which means you do have the Charlotte Vampire, which also said that you can't guard with the Great Ones. So they do work really good together. I would definitely put him in this deck as well when he come out. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.